How's it, everyone? Today, I'm excited to share the story of Yuri Kochiyama, a remarkable activist whose work bridged multiple communities and struggles for justice in America. Though not widely taught in U.S. history classes, her legacy offers important lessons about resilience, solidarity, and the power of coalition activism. Yuri Kochiyama was born in 1921, a Japanese American woman from California. Like many Japanese Americans during World War II, she and her family were forcibly relocated to the Heart Mountain internment camp. This, of course, painful experience shaped her life and activism. But later, she moved to New York City and became deeply involved in various social justice movements. As a woman of color, right, she faced discrimination on multiple fronts. But instead of letting that hold her back, she used it as fuel to fight for her own justice and for her own people. To understand Kochiyama's impact, it's important to know the time she lived in, right? The internment of Japanese Americans was definitely one of the darkest civil rights violations in U.S. history, right? After the war, America saw the rise of civil rights movements and a growing awareness of minority rights. But Kochiyama stood at the crossroads of these movements, building strong ties with leaders like, historical figures as we studied Malcolm X. She was actually holding his hand when he was assassinated. She also worked closely with activists fighting for Puerto Rican and Palestinian rights. Her activism showed the power of connecting struggles across different communities. Kochiyama, of course, made lasting contributions. She was a key advocate for reparations for Japanese American internees, which helped lead to the Civil Liberties Act of 1988. The official apology and compensation for the injustice that was served to these Japanese Americans during World War II. But she co-founded this Asian Americans for Action, one of the first groups to unite Asian Americans politically and work in solidarity with other marginalized groups. Right? She also fought for prison reform and supported political prisoners, standing up against systematic injustice wherever she saw it. What's striking is her commitment to coalition and the building of it, right? Working across racial and ethnic lines before it was a common strategy in the public eye. So why should we include Yuri Kochiyama in U.S. history courses? Right? For one, her story challenges the narrow focus on just a few civil rights figures. Right? She highlights the Asian American experience and shows how different minority struggles are connected. Her life teaches us about the power of solidarity and the importance of standing together across differences, no matter what kind of blood or color you come from. In today's diverse society, those lessons are more relevant than ever, right? Plus, she inspires resilience, a reminder that personal hardship can lead to powerful activism. And finally, it's important to note that Kochiyama's activism was deeply rooted in her Christian faith, right? Her belief in justice, forgiveness, peace motivated her lifelong work. Right, this spiritual foundation that we uphold at California Baptist University, is an example of what she did in her time. Right, a foundation that helped her keep going through difficult times and encouraged her to build bridges between communities. Her legacy lives, as long as in history, as Asian Americans will exist, and which that'll be forever. Her activism and the ongoing fight for justice worldwide, right? Studying really her helps us appreciate a more fuller, more conclusive history and inspires us to carry forward her spirit of coalition and compassion. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you see why your Kochiyama deserves a place in the history books and our classrooms, especially here at CBU. Thank you.